There's a lot of chatter on the Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark and the shot she took from Chennedy Carter of the Chicago Sky, but longtime media man Bob Costas sees a double standard.
To your earlier point, there was an incident recently. Alyssa Thomas, who happens to be African-American, grabbed Angel Reese by the throat and threw her to the floor. Flagrant 2, ejected from the game. The reason why that doesn't spark as much conversation isn't just that Caitlin Clark is a bigger star than Alyssa Thomas. It's because it's a black-on-black incident,
wow.
and you don't have that dynamic that people can comment on, yes, but also exaggerate and make the entire story. So
before we hear from Cari Champion, the play Costas paints the picture of occurred when Reese's Sky took on Thomas's Connecticut Sun on Saturday, May 25th. It was an egregious play, let's be clear, that earned Thomas, after a review, a flagrant 2 and an ejection. Here was Reese postgame.
I'm a player. I'm a basketball player. They don't give a damn if I'm a rookie. I mean, I want them to come at me every day. I want them to come at everybody. I mean, they're not supposed to be nice to me. I hope y'all know that. They're not supposed to be nice to me or lay down because I'm Angel Reese or because I'm a rookie. Like, thank you, AT, for sending the message to me because I got back up and I kept going and kept pushing.
Now it would be Champion's turn on CNN.
No one cared about the WNBA when women of a certain color were beating up and bruising each other because it's been happening since the league's inception. We have this star, this person that people love. They want to protect her. So now the new fans and the new analysts and the new people have so much to say.
Facts. Big facts.
The GOAT. Is she what? I don't know. I just, with my eyes, I couldn't see if she's Caucasian or not. So I think what we're trying to say is what the WNBA currently has is what we like to describe as a cash cow. There is a superstar. And we're not saying that the players on the court need to act any differently. That's the athletes are going to do what athletes are going to do in any sport. And I think we're all learning that WNBA, that's old school football, baby. That is old school football. But I would like the media people that continue to say, this rookie class, this rookie class, this rookie class. Nah, just call it for what it is. There's one white for the Indiana team who is a superstar.
We saw Pat McAfee, ESPN's biggest signing, get into the conversation by calling Clark, quote, one white bee, close quote.
No. So here's the thing. I've watched, I think, part of or all of almost every game she has played in the WNBA. I watched both games over the weekend. She is being deliberately hit, and let me stress, deliberately. It's a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more sinister than just a hard welcome to a new league. It appears that the intent sometimes is to injure her.
Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon would weigh in as well. Meanwhile,
okay, let's talk about the men with microphones who have recently discovered the WNBA because the things they're saying are crazy. Hey, I'm Coach Jackie and I talk all about women's sports, and apparently now men do too. Should we be grateful because they're talking about it even if they're not doing it 100% right? Well, that's what this video is about. So we could start a long time ago talking about the way men talk about women's sports, but I really want to talk about the recent conversation this last week and the way that they're handling it. It wasn't just him.
If you girls were Destiny's Child, she would be Beyonce.
These are not girls, these are women. That's simple. Small things like that men don't think about when they just want to immediately join this conversation that showed that kind of implicit lack of respect. Now, all these conversations that happened over the weekend were very solitary, but today on ESPN, Monica McNutt was there to put Stephen A in his place, and it was awesome. I bring this clip up because I want to show how entertaining it is to watch somebody who knows what they're talking about talk about this league and check somebody else who's not doing it correctly.
Coach Jackie on TikTok, one of the best follows, by the way, would give her take on not just the new fans, but also the new media ecosystem that has started talking about the W.
Of course, I want the men to support the game and talk about the game, but in theory, in a perfect world, they're doing promo on their shows for the big threes, women's basketball-centric show where they just talk about women's basketball. There's never been more evidence that there's content for a permanent W show. There's always been this really weird belief that women's sports finally makes it once the men start watching, and to me, that's never made any sense. It's different. It's women's sports. It's not for the men, and when they do start watching, that's great. I love it, but they don't have to run to the microphone because there are people who are better equipped to do that, and they're women, and they've played this game, and they know this game better than you do because it's not the same. It's not one for one. You can't just assume because it's women that it's basketball-like. It's different. It's better, in my opinion, but that's a whole other conversation.
And she brings up some really solid points Also, follow her account. You'll thank me later.
Like, so many of us are all echoing the same thing. Is like, when I imagined the WNBA leading conversation on every single network, it wasn't like this. And, we got a taste of this a couple years ago with Angel versus Caitlin in the NCAA tournament. And there were some real bad takes. There were some folks who stepped in it when they tried to talk about it. But it still felt like whenever people asked me, I was like, this is good for the game. Like, yeah, there's some morons, but there's morons talking about every sport. This kind of ability to create a debate, which we know drives so many of the main shows, was really key. People needed to know enough about both these players and the situation to have a take, right? And that's usually the issue with women's sports, is the connective tissue between the tentpole events, the big tournaments, or like a major news event isn't there. And if you don't know enough about the players and the teams in the league, you can't really have a debate on it, so you skip it, right? And what we're seeing now is there's enough knowledge about where Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark played and then the teams that they're joining that we're able to have conversations. They're just pretty bad ones. And in some ways it is kind of everybody. And it's that nobody can get their tempers cooled enough and really decide to talk about it with enough nuance to get it to the next step.
Sarah Spain, a legend in the industry, would weigh in as well, saying, essentially, it started off fine, but has shown itself with the new coverage.
Bob, thank you for saying that and acknowledging that, because you're a legend in this sport. And you are also gracious enough to say, look, I'm not an expert in the WNBA, but what I do know from the history and what I do know, this is why she is being treated this way, and why no one cares about
I've seen it in every sport.
I mean,
a newcomer is tested and to some extent resented.
It's a fair point, and Costas would know a thing or two. He is, after all, a living legend in sports broadcasting, having worked for NBC Sports for nearly 40 years, from 1980 to the year 2019. Mostly known for his work with the Olympics, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, and Major League Baseball. So asking his take on the matter in the WNBA caught some people by surprise.
I'm sorry, I'm livid. My blood is boiling. I've been so angry about this topic all day because it's so simple to make women versus women a conversation, but it's just so simple. There should be more layers to this sport. If you're really going to welcome yourself to the WNBA and cover it and talk about it, can we be more than just jealous? Can there be some real true competition? Can they just be athletes?
I know. Cari, again, preaching here from awful announcing. It is certainly noticeable to see Bob Costas explicitly discuss what he believes to be a racial dimension in the differing media treatment of the Carter foul on Clark and the Alyssa Thomas foul on Angel Reese, and to see his comments there endorsed by not just Cari Champion, but also CNN host Abby Phillip. And while the Thomas Reese incident did receive wide coverage from the Times and Fox News, the Clark one has insurmountably blown up in comparison. Andrew Buchholz, a respected name at the website, but at Costas also correctly notes that that's not exclusively about race. As he says, Clark is indeed a bigger star than Thomas in terms of drawing power. You see the statistics on your screen as well that Buchholz refers to. And as mentioned, there are many more dimensions to consider with the Clark incident. And some of what's blown it up so much has been various media meltdowns over it. Good point. Lastly, from Buchholz, but Costas and Cari Champion are both correct that there have been similar flagrant fouls in the W, both last week and throughout history, that have drawn much less wide comments from this, I know I said media ecosystem, but just new coverage overall. And they have a point that race does seem to play a part in why the Clark-Carter incident is being discussed so extensively, including by people who don't usually cover the sport. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.